Okay, so you've probably noticed by now that there's been a lot of videos pertaining to manifestation on my YouTube channel. Now, there is a reason for that. And it all started with an astral projection experience. Let's see if I can really remember. It was a while ago. Maybe 2 months back now. 2 months ago, I was on my couch. I've recently started doing it on my couch because, honestly, it's easier than doing it on my bed. I wander out from my kitchen and I'm just literally just looking at my place. I do what I think everyone else does. I assess what I can and cannot do because I had a session within 2 hours from then, and I just thought to myself, you know what, the couch is there, why not go for it? You know, why not astral project? I'm laying there on the couch and I look to my right to see an old lady standing in front of my mirror. Now, the space at the end of my living room slightly looks different. It's kind of like there's another dimension over the top of this dimension, but just enough to the point where I can see my living room, but even more so that dimension where this old lady is. And then from the bottom of my feet back to the other side of the living room is just my living room. Now when I'm looking at this old lady, I can also see this figure behind her. It's around about, if it was standing up straight, 6'3", but it wasn't standing upright. It was kind of hunched over a little bit. It had a huge bulbous-like head, a really thin neck, really long arms. Yeah, this thing was like, kind of, shall I say the A word in this video? None of this world. It was basically facilitating her. That's what it looked like. It was kind of guiding her in a sense. But I realized that this creature of sorts had actually pulled me, or at least directed my astral projection experience. It was like he was calling me. And then he didn't have to say much. Matter of fact, he didn't say anything at all. He just gave off this kind of vibe and said, hey, now you take her for a little spin. And he literally did the hand gesture. He didn't have eyes, but I could tell that he was looking at me. And then I got up and I proceeded to do what he had asked. And we had walked through my mirror. And this is where it gets pretty cool. And this is why this astral projection relates so heavily to the manifestations that I've been doing for the past couple of months. You know, I mean, I've always been able to manifest, but to this degree, never before this experience. Because what happened was, we had basically walked into this space. Huge, completely black. There was no ceiling, no floor, but you were standing on something. There was no walls. And within this space, there were basically these boxes, I'd say maybe 10 foot, 10 or 15 feet in diameter, perfectly square. And each box had a door, yeah? And each one of these doors were either black with 52 on there, or it had like a spire hole on there. The door would be very reminiscent to the occupier of the room. Now, there was no corridors within this kind of makeshift facility. I say makeshift because you can kind of look at it as if there were corridors, because there were so many boxes placed beside each other, you can literally walk in between them. Yeah? So as soon as I step in front of these boxes, I instantly know why they're there. I can feel what these boxes are made out of. They're made out of thought, and they were created by beings that at a time, you know, were there and building these things using thought forms, but then kind of wandered off and just left them be, as if it created, or they created, these manifestation rooms for a specific purpose. Now, these rooms were designed for the purpose of helping somebody, a soul who had just passed on, like the old lady, play out experiences that she had played out within this lifetime, but that she had missed the important lessons within that experience, or many experiences within her life. The fabric of reality is built in such a way whereby there are little triggers in your surroundings. People will say something to you, which will trigger a kind of awakening of sorts inside of your mind. You'll come to epiphanies, or you'll be enlightened due to those epiphanies. You know, enlightened meaning that you'll start to see things in certain ways to such a degree that those things no longer weigh down on you, making you heavy or depressed. You become enlightened, much lighter. You can have many enlightening moments throughout your entire lifetime. Okay, so these realities are literally created in such a way to help facilitate your spiritual growth through your awareness, but more so through your wisdom of life. And ultimately, it gets you to a point where you as a being, you become so pure, so happy, so, I guess you can say, godlike, but not in the sense that everyone else thinks of, you know, when it comes to gods in mythology. I mean like pure divinity, like you become so divine that your frequency shifts up a level and then you can exist in another dimension when you pass on. Not only that, but the Four Seers of these cubes literally understand the mechanics of manipulating reality, cause and effect, law and attraction, on so many different levels, from the psychological level, from the 3D level, from the etheric plane, from all these other dimensions. Some of them aren't even familiar among many spiritual communities out there, at least the widely populated ones. That because I had the ability to also tune into thought forms, because I practice using thought forms a lot and I am quite, you know, well adjusted to such mindsets, such states of being, which will allow me to read these forms of thought. I instantly plugged in to the programming of this program that they had built before they walked away. So I'm just sat there with this old lady, right? And I'm like, okay, I know I should let her go into the box, but a huge part of me wants to read their program. I'm just absorbing it, and I let her go in, and I can feel her consciousness, and as soon as she walked in through the door, instant amnesia. It's boom. She had no idea that she had just died. She had seriously thought that whatever experience that she just walked into was real life. And that's all that existed to her. Now, these boxes didn't have tops to them, so I could see over the top, yeah? Not to say that they were really low. I can fly and I'm quite big, and in the astrals it depends. I'm kind of non-corporeal, I don't really have a form sometimes, so I can just see what's going on. And I'm looking into this box. I see her play out a scenario with her family, and she ends up coming to a very heartwarming conclusion. And then instantly I felt the thought mechanics of her simulation, her box, shift and ramp up to such a degree that she stayed still, but she always stayed still, even when she thought she was walking. But the rest of the scenery kind of moved in place really quickly. And when that happened, when that shift happened, she became slightly aware, kind of confused. She went straight into amnesia mode again. Instantly thought that that was all that existed, that moment, as if her entire life led up to that point and nothing else existed. And she was left to respond to people, what they were saying, and hopefully respond in the right way so that she can get a pass. Now, that's all well and good. You know, seeing people reacting to other people in their environment and seeing the consequences of that, not just like at a probability level, you know, this could happen or that could happen, but the effects on one's psychology and their vibration, that's all well and good for manifestation to a degree. But remember, there's a whole bunch of code which she wasn't privy to, which the beings kind of like imbued it into the system, into the simulation. Now, this is where it gets pretty cool. Me being me, I decided to not go home. Instead, I wandered around through the makeshift corridors, and I start seeing all these other doors, and I could feel through the box. It's like kind of like when you walk through your streets and you can tell roughly if someone is in a car or in a house. I start scanning for empty rooms. I walk in to an empty room. It's a scenario where a guy had to walk into a shower room. I think it's in college, but there were some lessons that needed to be learned for him to get over some things for his spiritual growth. I have the cheat sheet to his spiritual growth. It's in the program. So what I start doing is I start acting out. Even though I don't look like the guy, the program doesn't know, it can't tell the difference between me and someone else. So I start acting in the way that he's supposed to act, deliberately to pass his test. Then instantly I witness his little box speed up even faster, and I'm just going through each test over and over and over again. I then come out like, I feel like I just lived an entire lifetime. Then what I do is I start going to another box, and then another box. I go to about 3 boxes on my own. And then I bumped into a guy in the corridor. He was doing the exact same thing as me. We, I guess, double tagged it. We were doing okay for a while, but these boxes aren't built for 2. We started to break some of the boxes. And when there's a glitch in the system, people are alerted. This guard shows up, then takes us out of the room. She shows us as to how one of the symbols on the door was broken. It was like a kind of, those things you put on someone's finger before they pass away. Well, usually they're associated to people dying whenever you see it in a movie. It keeps track of the pulse, I believe. One of those was like super glued, or somehow suspended on the door itself, and it was old and it was cracked. And it was quite a dark simulation, obviously having to do with death and stuff like that. But we had just come out of there. We didn't get to finish that game of sorts. We only did so many levels. But we had done enough damage, not only to that box, but many of the other boxes. And yeah, the people hadn't passed on yet in order to have their go around, but it was causing quite a big problem. So she took us and we kept walking, and we walked out of like the complex, and then it was just void. And I got this sinking feeling like if we were to go with her, it's just kind of like we'd become very unaware. It's not like a death, but it's kind of like a death of awareness. Amnesia. It didn't feel right. So while she's talking to him, I kind of like, scooch backwards. And they don't notice me walking away. And then I fly backwards through all of the cubes, and I keep going, and then all of a sudden, I'm in this reality in my body, but I keep going backwards, and then this life here is a cube. Now what does this mean? Does this mean that I'm dead and I don't know it? No, it didn't feel that way. Although, I might have missed something. It happened pretty quick. But ultimately, I was able to read my entire life in regards to what I need to do, how I need to do something, how my thoughts, how my vibration, how everything is set up for me to experience certain experiences, to get certain life lessons out of it. I saw my own cheat sheet, essentially. And I also saw how my reality kind of slots in place on this crazy spiritual level. And then I thought to myself, like, I got it. Like, compared to the last time I projected and I discovered how to manifest things, this is manifestation, but it's on a level which is not only a little bit more of what I last discovered, but it's more clearer, it's more abstract, and yet it makes more sense. And I could retain much more of it. The last time I ended up having an experience where I discovered manifestation some years ago was when I did DMT and I had a breakthrough. And coming back to this reality, I kind of had to piece together the reality to birth myself into, And I always wondered if I changed one little thing on the way back from the source of creation, would I had seen a change in my immediate environment? Like if I came back and chose to be of a different race, would I come back from the breakthrough in a different body, stuff like that? I never got to that point. But then I was able to manifest my life to quite an extent just off that alone, building my reality. I was able to become my own boss. I was able to leave my job. I was able to gain foresight or at least a much more clearer foresight on seeing my future. I was always able to do that anyway, and when I was a kid I always thought, you know, maybe I was just really good at predicting probabilities, even though I could see it in my head. That's what everyone told me, but then I got used to really trusting in that. And then after my astral projection experiences, and then the DMT and stuff kind of just made sense to me. And then I started, you know, moving out, manifested this own place. I manifested friends. I manifested like relationships, which allowed me to leave this house and have very, very long vacations. That was just with the DMT, but this next one that I did, the one I just told you about, that really did do it for me. The next morning I got up and I think, screw it, I'm not going to sit around and do nothing, or at least it felt like I was doing nothing. I was in a routine, I was doing a lot of work, but it didn't feel like I was doing all that I could be doing. But now I have the answers. I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Not only that, but I came back with this weird vibe. I can talk about it in another video, where it feels like I'm in the past now. Like, it feels like I'm in the future, but I'm remembering a memory and I'm stuck here in the memory. It's really strange. So it makes it hard for me to be surprised. That's really become a problem. And like I said, that's kind of a part of my foresight that I used to have, but now it's much better. Yeah, I'll talk about it in another video. Either way, after that experience, I did some things, and within a week I made enough money, which I didn't really make money. It was kind of weird how it happened. It just kind of happened because it was supposed to happen. It wasn't the way most people make money. It was strange. I ended up just spontaneously getting enough. And even the word getting doesn't sound right, because it wasn't like I was getting it. Either way, it happened, and I ended up going to Florida. I went to Florida, and then I went to New York. It was all one trip for 41 days. Whilst I was there, I did a bunch of stuff which deals with manifestation on even deeper levels, and I'll talk about that at some point. I've been trying to make videos on it, but ever since I've been really manifesting things, if I get like the smallest thought not to do it, something happens and the videos get wiped. But yeah, that's my astral projection experience. Vice is a part of it. I didn't want to mention it in this video because I've mentioned it on my channel already. I don't want to repeat myself, but just before I left, Vice called me and they were like, hey, can I come over to your place? We're gonna send a crew up to your house. We're gonna come to you, don't worry about it, and we're gonna shoot a documentary about something dealing with spirituality. They said they would have it done by the beginning of this month. Now we're in October. It's coming to the end of the month. They should have it released fairly soon. I'll let you guys know when that's going to be released. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this, including that empath one. Hopefully I can get it off them and upload it onto my YouTube channel. Yeah. Check out my website, ryancropper.com, for courses on strange things dealing with astral projection, manifestation, and many things weird. I'll speak to you pretty soon. Peace.